Good morning, YouTube. It's pretty early. Sun's coming up in Atlanta. I'm getting up just before I go to the E-League studios. Was expecting to have my studio up and running by now, hopefully by today. And I wasn't going to record any videos until I had a little recording area, could make it look good. Get on a PC and put one of them borders around, me, like stroking my beard, like, Richard's ramblings, whatever, right? But I couldn't really sort of sit on this one for too long because it's just eating me up inside, okay? And it's a video about this whole Yeelmao1 thing, which is just blowing my mind right now. So, when I went to school, we used to have a joke that we used to use to root out stupid people, I suppose. Stop me if you've heard it. You would go up to someone and you would say, "Hey, did you know they've taken gullible out the dictionary? They've taken the word gullible out the dictionary." And what would happen is the person would either go, "Fuck off, like I'm going to fall for that one," or if they were incredibly stupid and indeed gullible, which is the joke, they would say, "Really? Why have they done that?" And you would know straight away you were talking to a gullible person. Now, this has kind of happened to a lot of people en masse here with this Yeelmao thing. And I'll just frame it because obviously you can't rely on everybody to keep up to date with Reddit happenings like I do, or maybe people have just missed it and whatever. And how does it pertain to CS and everything else? So there was a chap called Yeelmao on Reddit, and he posted a number of roster changes, and the roster changes were all, fairly, I would say, stuff that was already maybe being speculated about anyway, or there'd already been rumblings, but they were absolutely cast iron, as stated as fact, and they would later, one second, I'll grab some coffee, they would later go on to be true, or rather found to be true. So everybody started paying close attention. What's your next prediction? What's it going to be, Yeelmao1? And there would be another one, and it would be accurate. And there would be another one, and it would be accurate. And everybody was like, "This guy's incredible. He must have insider knowledge." We're in a CS talent Skype group where we use that to discuss things that are going on, what events we're all going to, how are things at events, if we're not working events, just general discussion about the scene. Also, kind of some work-related stuff, discussing each other's rates and that kind of thing. And even we were like, is it one of us, trolling, or who could it be? So even we discussed it. We were in as much the dark as you guys were. And then the chap did an AMA, and in the AMA, there was a line where he said, Richard Lewis should know who I am, because Richard Lewis, I messaged him and helped him with a security issue some time ago, so Richard Lewis will know who I am. So, obviously, that doesn't happen often. It was very apparent immediately who it was, because people had indeed, this chap had indeed messaged me a while ago. I went through my DMs, and there it was. There was his Twitter account. And to give you just some insight into what happened, he had found a series of old passwords that I hadn't used since 2013 or thereabouts for I think what happened was he was involved in hacking forums, and there'd been a dump from XSplit, I believe it was, and he had found a bunch of old passwords that were used on my XSplit account, and he had then used that to get into a old email account I didn't use, and on there he found a couple of the passwords. And then he messaged me and said, "These are your passwords for these things." And I was like, okay, well, some of these are a bit more current than 2013, but there was almost none that I was currently using, because I'd recently, well, not recently, but I'd been hacked during the iBuyPower story, and my Skype got hacked and my Hotmail got hacked. I think people were trying to root out what I had and what I knew. So I changed everything across the board and made very robust passwords. But this guy said, look, this is the security issue. This is how I access this account. You should really hide all of this just in case. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. He talked me through the process. He helped me with make sure I had two-step verification on everything. He was a friendly guy, didn't think much of it. And I was like, hey, that's cool. Thanks very much for helping me with that. And that was the end of that, really. We didn't really talk much. Occasionally he'd message me and go, oh, have you heard about this? Or, hey, you're doing a good job on this show. And I would go, hey, no, I haven't heard about that. Or, thanks, just small talk, right? So anyway, when that came out in the AMA, I was like, well, it's that guy. And therefore, what I knew about this guy started to put how this information was getting out there into a very different light. Now, this chap has stood accused in the past of being involved in hacking RuneScape accounts. I have no idea whether that's true. I don't really want to know. I don't really care. It's whatever. But given that was his alleged background, and he had also come to me with the apparent, hey, I was on this hacking forum and we found your exploit password, an old exploit password. That said to me that this is somebody who might have been active in hacking. So my immediate thoughts were, this chap probably got into an email account or a Skype or something like that and just happened to hit pay dirt when it came to CSGO stuff. Now, you wouldn't need to go to those lengths, honestly. All of the roster changes he was talking about were common knowledge. I can't come out anymore and be like, hey, these roster changes are happening, because I work for Turner Sports and I work on E-League, so we know the rosters. We have to know the rosters. Obviously, I know the rosters. It's not investigative journalism if people come to you and go, hey, this is the roster for this game, and you go, oh my me, what a big secret. I better tell everyone about it. That's just you being an asshole. That's just you violating the position of trust that you're in. So I would never do it. That's just common sense, right? And it's the same for ESL. ESL know all about this stuff. They know all about it. They have to. And as Messioso said, when people were going, oh, has security been compromised? Messioso said very directly and very bluntly that this is all common knowledge stuff. There's a Skype group with over 270 people in it, and we all talk about this very openly. These are not secrets. So, again, I would point at journalists and say, really, it's never been easier to get these leaks, okay? And you should probably try a little bit harder. But a few roster changes here and there certainly don't make you an oracle of everything that's going in the Counter-Strike. No more than when I was doing it, and certainly no more when this chap was doing it. So, what I became quickly intrigued about was where things started to change, because, again, this guy, he's doing an AMA, and in this AMA, he's referencing me and how he helped me with the security issue. And also he's saying things that just seem really out of character. Like, based on the conversations we've had and the interactions we've had, we've been entirely positive and friendly. He's also making these very wild allegations and claiming that he's been able to bypass Steam somehow, and he's found a cloud exploit, and he's got hard evidence of cheating, and everything he's saying is 100% accurate, but he can't prove it just yet, because they never can they? So I was like, that just seems very bizarre. So I messaged him, and I was like, look, mate, you've caused a bit of a stink here. You should probably, clarify what you're saying. Or if you've got any evidence, fuck it, pass it on to me. I'm not really a journalist anymore. Maybe it will be one day, but I'll make sure the information goes to Valve, anyone else that needs to have it. And certainly make it public, right? If there is hardcore evidence, I will look at the veracity of it, and if it's right and accurate, obviously I'll put it out there. It's public interest. But there was no reply. And I was like, it seems a bit strange that this guy who's been very vocal and active on Reddit isn't replying to me on Twitter. Now, what I was doing was I was messaging him on his other Twitter. He's got two. A lot of people think he's the big boy Hassie is like his main account. Well, no, it's not. That's not the account we've had interactions on ever. In fact, I had the big boy Hassie account blocked on Twitter. There was no means for me to, I don't even know why that happened, but there was no means for me to communicate with him on that Twitter account. Now, these accusations, these allegations, they seem to be very out of character, as I said. And where they were coming from was somebody had actually hacked his Twitter and hacked his Reddit and an old email address. And that's what he's told me since he's had them restored. And they used this credibility of him knowing about a few roster swaps to start making these very common, very popular allegations about professional players, put them out there in public domain, and frame it as if, hey, these other 3 or 4 things I've said are factually accurate, so therefore anything else I say after this point must be factually accurate. And I want you to just, again, linking back to the joke that I opened this video with, that is just plain gullibility. It's one of the most common things to exploit weak-minded people with. So, prime example, okay, you'll see psychics do stuff like this, you know, when they're throwing out their cold reads and eventually, I'm getting a D, I'm getting a D, I'm getting a Derek, a Donald, David's more popular, yeah, David. And somebody goes, oh my God, my grandfather was David. And you go, yeah, that's it. He was saying that you're his grandson, and, you know, he said that not to worry. I'm sensing he died in a lot of pain. Oh, yeah, it was cancer. Right, cool. And what they do is they hook you in by getting 1 or 2 things right at the start, and then it's like when they start telling you about what this dead relative wants to pass on from the other side, from the spirit realm, you're more inclined to believe it because, why? Hey, they got all that right. Why the fuck would they lie? It's really dumb, but people do it. People want to believe. And certainly, whoever hacked Yeelmao1's account, or Yeelmao, I should say, whoever hacked his account, knew that there's a bunch of people on Reddit, a bunch of idiots out there that just want to believe in this huge, overarching, cheating conspiracy where every pro and every pro team has at least one cheat, or every pro has cheated at some point, and Valve know, and ESL know, and MLG know, and I know, and we're all working together to hide it. Because otherwise, you know, the whole scene would collapse. It would just fold in on itself. We'd all not be making money. So that gullibility, that desire to believe in that. And here's the thing. I believe in a lot of fucking conspiracy theories. I'm not anti-conspiracy theory. And I think when you label people conspiracy theorists to deride them when they're applying critical thinking, I think that's actually a bad thing. But, okay, I'm named as being part of this conspiracy, and I know I'm not in a conspiracy, so it's very hard to take it seriously beyond that fucking point, isn't it? Now, when you know something someone is saying about you is bullshit, how the fuck do you give anything? You know, how do you give it any credence? So, the whole point of this is that it just taps into this groundswell of belief that there's something rotten in the scene, and I understand where that comes from. I've seen all the same clips you have. Seen all the GIFs, seen all the demos, seen the YouTube videos, I've listened to the critique, I've heard other pros accuse other pros of cheating, and I've talked to players routinely behind the scenes. I get it, okay? I get where that sense comes from, right? But again, there's a difference between 1 or 2 people being a little bit fucking naughty and getting some assistance in what they do, and a huge across the board, every pro is dirty, every team is dirty, the developers don't care, we don't care, you don't care, the cover-up story. It's that doesn't ring true. That's absolute fucking nonsense. So, what upsets me, and not upsets, I mean, too strong a word, but what bothers me is how readily people were just duped into believing this, and all these allegations were just public, and now there's all these front page Reddit posts about all these accusations, people even saying Yeelmao was paid and bribed by Valve. He hadn't said anything that the average fucking moron hadn't said a million times over. There was no level of insight, no level of development to the idea. People would just, oh, well, it must be him. He's saying it now. So, and then there was all these other theories as well. Yeelmao must be an ESL employee. No, definitely not. Yeelmao must be a Valve employee. Think about that logic. Think about how incredibly stupid you have to be to think that this guy is a Valve employee. So therefore, let's follow this through. He works for the company that is the single most profitable per employee that it has in the world, more than Google, Apple, all those are the great, Microsoft, all those are the great companies. Okay, he is going to jeopardize that job by creating a fake Reddit account, right? Come online and leak roster swaps. Let that sink in. I talk to Valve guys infrequently, but perhaps more frequently than some other people. They don't know what the moves are happening transfer-wise. It's not really pertinent to their job of developing a game. And, yeah, they're interested, and yeah, they go to the major, and yeah, they follow it. But the idea of like, oh, this is happening, better leak that. Why? Where's the fucking impetus? So all the people who said that Yeelmao must be a Valve holy fucking shit, like, are you going to go out and vote anytime soon? I hope not. Because you need to get back to the fucking drawing board on your critical thinking levels. You're out of your fucking minds. So, that said, I am incredibly just bewildered as to why people are now saying that this is a big conspiracy. One random guy who was getting the information, I think, probably from that Skype group that Messioso talked about, honestly, right? We're just being honest. No inside information, no emails being hacked, no accounts being compromised, just loose lips, sinking ships. Same as it always has. Same way I used to get my stories when I was a journalist. People used to be like, well, how does he do it? You listen, you talk, you listen. That's it. And just people. Blah, 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 blah. No, in esports, everybody wants you to know a fucking secret. Because it gives them a secret that you keep to yourself. There's no power. It doesn't make you look important. It doesn't give you anything. So people like to just fucking out. It just spews. They just regurgitate their bullshit, and that's that. And that makes your job easy. And if you know as many people as I do and talk to as many people as I do, then obviously people come and tell you things. And people like shit to be out there. It makes them feel good. Like, hey, I did that when your story gets published. So anyway, right, the point of the fucking video. So there's the background and all that Yeelmao bullshit. And shame on you if you thought they were taking gullible out the dictionary. Fucking shame on you. But what we're left with is this big ugly fucking mess and this debate about cheaters and how rotten the scene is. So I'll give you my stance on this, alright? And this is, again, speaking as somebody that's been involved since day fucking dot. This is somebody who has exposed a private cheat in Counter-Strike Source and was roundly criticised for doing so, I might add. The vent.exe cheat, that going public, that was my doing. I got a copy of it. I sent it to other anti-cheat coders. I readily made it available on the basis that if everybody has it, and not just a select few, it'll get vaxxed. And lo and behold, it got vaxxed, and we did that. I'm proud of that. I don't give a fuck, right? People can say, oh, you should have been more careful and kept it hidden, and we could have trapped people, whatever, right? Like, it's not a fucking sting operation. I just want the cheating to fucking stop, and that's that. I just want honest Counter-Strike. I don't want you fucking little Orwellian schemes to planning to catch people out. So I've done it before, so I know this to be true. There will always be pros that cheat. Always. Always. It is the same in every sport. It is the same in every esport. There will always be somebody who breaks the fucking rules. There will always be somebody who is willing to do something that they shouldn't be doing to gain an advantage. And the more money and the more rewards for doing so, the more likely people are to be tempted into doing so. So, which one's more likely? It's actually more likely everybody's cheating, in my opinion, than it is that nobody is cheating or has ever cheated. Both are ridiculous, both are extremes, but I think that is more likely than that. But that is so fucking unlikely and so far-fetched, it's dumb to even endorse it. But we follow the lesson of history. Yeah, maybe one or two people are being a bit naughty. Here's what you have to do. You have to catch them. You have to catch them. And you cannot just say, that looks like bullshit. That's never been a gold standard that people are willing to accept. I talked about this multiple times. We used to ban people on the eye test. And I was all right with that, actually. I never objected to it. We operated on a very simple principle. If it looked like bullshit and it smelled like bullshit, it was fucking bullshit. And that was that. And some people maintain their innocence for years after manual bans were handed, saying this is an outrage, this is disgusting. No. Here's the thing. Stakes weren't particularly high. You got banned from fucking a few online leagues. You got banned from a few online cups. Maybe a team that was going to pay you £200 a month didn't pick you up. The stakes were not high. It was almost kind of like, does that excuse it? Probably not. But it wasn't worth crying about endlessly, needlessly. Now that we're in a professional era of esports, we have got to apply a professional standard to how we catch cheaters and wrongdoers. And I say this as somebody that investigated the iBuyPower thing, and it took me fucking ages to get that Sisyphean boulder up the fucking hill and get Valve to be like, okay, there's enough here. Yeah, let's do it. Let's actually suspend these players. So you've got to. What do we need to do? Do we need better anti-cheat? Probably. I think Valve, again, the Valve that I know, they're continually looking to develop Valve anti-cheat. What we never talk about are how there are multiple VAC waves that have just happened in the last 2 months. Multiple VAC waves, and this is new stuff coming into VAC, new stuff being assimilated. It's never going to be super effective. It's never going to be an instantaneous ban all cheating program. That's never going to happen. That wouldn't happen if Valve threw all their resources at it. That's not how it works. Unfortunately, in the arms race of cheats and anti-cheats, the cheats are always ahead. Always. That's just the way it works. It's the way it's always worked. It's anti-cheat is reactive by nature. So what we're asking for is unrealistic. What we need to do, though, is we need to start pooling our efforts. If there is a cheating problem, I don't believe there is a cheating problem. I believe there are one or two people out there that are suspicious, and maybe it's worth exploring those suspicions, but it is not worth just making blind allegations. It is not worth just witch hunting people. And anybody that thinks that it is, I want you to think about how it would, again, just empathize a little. Imagine what it would be like to be innocent of something, to have people witch hunt you. And I'll give you an example of this. There was somebody that was messaging me constantly, telling me they knew that a professional player, was a sex offender, and they had evidence. And I was like, you get so many cranks in this business, but it's a very serious allegation, and it's in the public interest, I suppose. So okay, let's have a look. So I got the evidence, and it was an arrest record. And on that arrest record, there was a name of that pro player and a date of birth and everything. I was like, oh, fucking hell, seems legit. But the date of birth was different to the player's public date of birth. And I was like, but everything else measures up. Same town that they lived in, same place of birth, same birth year, same name. So I was like, it could just be an error. So I dug into it. Guess fucking what? It was just somebody with the same name, coincidentally from the same town, born in the same place, in the same hospital, in the same year, but about 2 months apart. And I told that person who was sending that around, and I think it even tried to put it on Reddit. What you're doing is fucking disgraceful. You shouldn't be doing things like that, because that is a stigma that would never go. And people do it. So I want you to just empathize about what it would be like to be the victim of a witch hunt like that. And know you'd done nothing, but your name, reputation was permanently tarnished on the fucking internet of all places, where nothing is ever deleted. So we've got to be responsible about it. You cannot just sling this stuff around wildly. And I've got my own opinions about who I think is dubious and who isn't. But you'll notice I'm not out there talking about it. I did write an editorial called Why Nobody Should Be Surprised by the Vacuuming when I used to work for the Daily Dot. That basically said what I'm saying now. The highest levels of Counter-Strike, there will always be people who cheat. Always. They're always going to get caught. And we thought after the Kaylee thing, we were going to get inundated. Didn't happen. So, vitally important that we maintain composure and we don't just throw this stuff around. People say that if 2 or 3 high-profile cheats were caught, it would destroy the scene. Bullshit, absolute nonsense, would never happen. Same way the NBA hasn't been destroyed over like betting scandals. The same way baseball hasn't been destroyed over steroid scandals. Same way soccer hasn't been destroyed over the Nandrolone scandal, where there was fucking so many Dutch players taking vitamin supplements. Same way match fixing in Italian soccer didn't end there. We're way more fucking robust than you think we are. And if you think 1 or 2 players getting caught cheating, it'll be a blow. But if you think it would collapse the scene, then you don't really understand what we've got here. You don't understand what we've built. You don't understand just how big it actually is. You're thinking small. So it's bullshit. And just the sort of final point, the point I want to kind of wrap up on is that, look, I believe we're going to get there. I believe we're going to get better anti-cheat measures. I've got my own ideas about that. We've been trying to implement that stuff at E-League. It's a slow process. I've shared my ideas with Faceit, who obviously we partner with on the league. I'm very vocal about it. I know Valve want to get better. You saw Edo, who was a fucking, seriously, anybody who says Valve don't care about Counter-Strike, talk to him. Because he's been involved forever, and he does fucking care, and I know he cares, and he gets involved, and he doesn't have to come out and answer the public. In fact, it actually goes against Valve's credo to do that. But he's done it. And he said, if anyone has any information, share it with us about any cheat of any kind. And you can do it. Their emails are readily available. But yeah, I think we're going to get better. And I think we do that by working together collectively. Leagues need to drop the ego when it comes to cheating. And they need to share information. Because it's a scourge to everybody, right? So let's do it. And just the final point. And people are saying Valve are covering this up. They're covering it up. They know, and they can invest all these resources, and they're covering it up because it's about money, and they don't care. They just want to make money. Well, okay. For Valve to have better, systematic anti-cheat measures, a few things would need to happen. First of all, they would need to ditch their idea, their distinction that the average person and a pro is different. They would need to start saying that. And they've never said that, and they've never treated people differently. Everybody's treated the same. They've started slowly changing that. They've looked at some high-profile cases, Dreamer, for example, where he said his account was stolen on the cheating, and they're saying that's absolutely not true. They specially looked into that to clarify that for the community and for the player. He will never compete at a Valve-endorsed event. It's over for him in that sense. And if they've looked at it and somehow he's still innocent, that's a goddamn tragedy. My inclination are Valve, I know, will do their homework on this. They've got to absolutely get it right. And if they've communicated it publicly, given that they would be liable to lawsuits and all manner of nonsense, I think they're absolutely on the fucking money, and he probably did make a bad choice. That's Valve. So the other thing they would need to do is start increasing the invasion of privacy that their client has, okay? And I'm pretty sure people are against that. I'm pretty sure based on past reactions, we're against that. I'm pretty sure after the ESEA Bitcoin mining fiasco, people, which is still one of the most disgraceful things I've ever seen in esports history, I'm pretty sure we're all a little bit fucking wary, aren't we, about letting big companies have access to our shit in esports, and you would be wise to do it in general. We see all the time. You've got Twitter making political choices about who to ban and who not to ban and who to put in your timeline. Facebook doing the same, manipulating data. You've got the fucking CEO of Reddit talking at a tech convention saying we know all your dirty, dark secrets. And we can use that for marketing purposes. Trust me, we've got every right to be fucking wary. So are you telling me that to stop the scourge of cheating, you would be willing to surrender some kind of basic privacy rights? Nobody's going to sign up for that. It's not even really, in the grand scheme of things, necessarily a noble enough goal to give that away. And I'm not saying I don't trust Valve. I mean, actually, out of a lot of big companies, they seem to certainly be one of the way more responsible ones in terms of what they do with their data. But this is the reality. If we want to improve the systems, we would need to make some compromises. And I don't think the problem is indeed big enough or scary enough to warrant those compromises. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys feel differently. Whatever. Okay? But the other thing, of course, is that we would need to somehow. It's not like you can just pull tech out of the ether, just out of your imagination and be like, okay, problem solved. There we go. I've imagined it. I've created it. Problem solved. If it was that easy, we'd all live forever and esports wouldn't even matter because we'd be just astrally projecting ourselves into the fucking nether realm and exploring psychic space, right? Like, esports wouldn't be a thing at all. It'd be the least of our worries. Right? If it was that simple, if it was just about imagination, we would just do shit like that, wouldn't we? But it isn't, right? So the idea that, they can make VAC totally better, well, maybe they can, but it's a fucking arduous process. And as I said, it's a reactive one. So I think people need to give Valve a bit more fucking support. If you see these aim lock moments that everyone's talking about, and as I said, I've seen the same stuff, okay? I'm not blind, I'm not ignoring it. I've seen suspicious moments. I've seen moments that make me scratch my head. But it's contextual. You need a camera on the mouse. What buttons were they pressing? Is it what tick is the demo? Was it a stream? All of these things matter when we're processing this information, and I don't think anybody's really taking a long, hard look at it. What you should be doing, if you see something like that, don't go to fucking Reddit, right? Okay, maybe go to Reddit, but maybe just listen, hear me out. Right? Don't go to Reddit. Go to a tournament admin and say, hey, I noticed this suspicious moment, or what I believe to be a suspicious moment in your tournament. It happened at this time in this game by this player. Could your admins perhaps take it into consideration? Maybe you might want to check the PC. Maybe you might want to have a look at things they installed and didn't install. Let's work collectively to police cheaters. Let's not use it for Reddit points and arguments, and let's not get upset about, I lost a bet. Like, just right. If you want to fix cheating, it's about vigilance and it's about cooperation. And if we do that, we can definitely tackle any potential scourge. But right now, I just think we're all a little bit up in arms. I think we're all a little bit panicking about something that might not even be real. And the fact that we're having this fucking discussion predicated on a hacked Reddit account shows just how far your heads are up the collective Counter-Strike backside. Pull them out. Let's see the fucking light. It's not as bad as what we think it is. It never is. Nothing ever is. So don't be gullible. Don't get sucked in. Listen to information when it comes from credible sources and understand that there is no evil conspiracy. If there is, they left me out, guys. I'm sorry. And certainly, I don't think Valve would ever be involved in anything like that because the repercussions would be so fucking great if it ever got out. And people, if one hacked Reddit account can put it all together, it's hardly, it's hardly the fucking Kennedy assassination, is it? So just think about what you're saying, be a little bit more fucking engaged with the topic, and let's just be smarter. All right? Anyway, thanks for listening. Peace out to Yeelmao and all of his fans, and I'll see you on the next video, and with a brand new Richard Lewis show real soon.